continuing our demonstration of Adlerian therapy with the follow-up session that has taken place weeks or months later. Hi, Heather.
Hi.
So how's it going?
Well, you know how things at work seem to have been sort of going along better in general with me and my work and the boss and stuff. Well, this past week there was just this little, it wasn't a major wildfire, but this little flare-up thing that happened, and I'm kind of wondering if I kind of like you to sweep it under the carpet and pretend it's not there, but I'm not sure that that's really what I should do. I'm thinking I might need to deal with it, and so I was thinking maybe we should talk about that.
Okay. Well, we've talked about these things in the past, and I think that you have been able to address issues, and in fact, I've noticed that you have the female relationships that you talked about in the past that haven't gone well for you, that we haven't seemed to experience that. Have you noticed that?
No, we haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, I never really thought about that, but
yeah. Why do you think that is?
You don't get at me the way that they do. You're different than that. You don't make me feel like I'm this tall. I don't know. It just feels more like you respect me and treat me as an equal, and so I don't feel like I have to do this when I come here.
Because we've talked. We have this now reoccurring problem which we'll address about a new circumstance with your boss. But we've talked at some length about difficulties with female relationships that you've had in the past. But I think it's interesting that in this particular relationship, we haven't experienced that. And maybe that is kind of a challenge to your assumptions that, all women are like your mom. And let's look at now this current situation with your boss, maybe in that light. Tell me a little bit more about what she was getting on you about, or how it played out.
Yeah, well, last week was report cards. And I don't know if you've probably never been a classroom teacher, but report cards time is really busy. You have to do these assessments with kids. You have to meet with each of them individually. And, you got 25 kids and you're meeting with one and the other, 24 swinging from the rafters. They're supposed to be doing their worksheets and stuff. And so my family life was just kind of a little bit crazy. And so I'm filling out these report cards, and there's this one kid in my class, and I kind of screwed the report card up a little bit. With some families,
it's a big deal.
They wouldn't even notice it. But this wasn't one of those families. This was one of those families where the parents were, they're there and they're on the ball and they're paying attention to how their kid's doing. And so they're coming for the conference, and we're going over the report card, and all of a sudden, they start challenging me. Why? We have these stupid number grade systems here now instead of A, B, C, D. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so this is a student who's generally like a 4 or 5 student, and somehow I wrote these like 2s and 3s in the report card. Well, I tried explaining this to the parents, and and changed the grades there, but could they let it go? No, they had to go talk to my boss. So I know that we're gonna have to deal with this, and I don't think this is gonna be like warning number 3, I'm out of there, because things really have been kind of better for the last couple months, but I'm just really terrified of how this is going to go.
And she has initially approached you already about this circumstance.
Well, I know they went and talked to her after they left my office, and I know that she called and said, I need to see you.
Okay.
So kind of I see the writing on the wall, but
okay.
I can't imagine she needs to see
she's
me
going to be happy about
this. I know, and she's not going to be happy about this.
Okay. And in this circumstance, in the past you've talked about being reactive towards this individual. Is that you just kind of become this small child again?
Yeah, I go in there and I feel like I'm
exactly. Now the circumstance is, I think you're already telling me is that you did make a mistake.
Yeah, I
did. And you need to have some accountability for the mistake
And I tried to, you know, I mean, I changed the report card when I was there, and I talked to the parents, and I apologized, but for some reason, that just wasn't good enough, and so they had to go over my head anyway.
Yeah, well, you know how it's important to have the realization in your mind that something is happening, you know, have insight into it. I think that you've already gained some insight into the fact that you do react to this particular person. You know, when you go in, it no longer is necessarily the issue you're talking about. It's all this other history that comes into the room with you. But you know,
and I just picture her just like,
yeah, she's going to go, you know, you have to peel her off. The claws are going to come out.
Peel me out of the
Yes.
floors. I'm walking with my, you know, like, separate slip, which I hope doesn't happen, but.
In this circumstance, you know, having the insight into the fact that this is what's going on, this is the process, the dynamic that's happening is important. But you know, if we had insight but never changed the way that we act, you know, I'm not sure what good having insight into the circumstance is. You happen to be in a situation now where you have the chance to act differently based upon the insight that you have about this relationship with your boss. How do you think, I mean, let's imagine that you were going in to deal with her on this circumstance, which you already clearly see that, you know, you need to, from a professional standpoint, speak to this issue. How could you go in and act differently with her than you have in the past?
Well, let's see. I think in the past, I would have done one of two things. I'd either go in, like, so defensive that anything she does, I explode, like a little pinprick. Or I would kind of go in like a little worm. My belly, I'm so sorry! Yeah. And so all she needed to do was, you know, put her foot, and I was completely squashed into the carpet. So I guess I could just try standing up and walking in and sitting down. And I mean, I'm not sure that's what this meeting is about, but I guess I could, I mean, I don't know if I would want to start with saying, you know, is this meeting about, you know, this family?
Because it could be some other issue.
Yeah, so I don't want to put it in her head if it's not,
Sure.
but I can't imagine that it would be anything else.
So maybe one of the first things is you could go into the meeting with a certain openness to find out why she wants to meet with you first. And then maybe not to be a worm or, you know, a balloon ready to pop, but someone that's ready to talk with her as a professional, not as a little girl.
What if she just like comes in like gangbusters?
Well, what if she does?
I see I'll turn into a worm. I don't know, what do you do? It's like, how did you do this? You know, this is the third time this year I've had to break you in here. I've just had it with you.
Yeah.
You know, that's sort of as I'm sitting here fretting about this, that's what's going through my head.
One thing is you have been at this school for 5 years, right? And you've been a teacher even longer than that. Have you ever miscalculated a student's grade before at that school?
I'm not sure that I have.
Well, you know, and teachers run through a lot of grades, right? Do you think that your peers have likely miscalculated a grade before?
Oh, I know some of them have. We've had conversations.
There you go. You know, your principal has been an educator for a long time. I think on some level is that she may understand how these things happen and that the resolution of the problem is more important than how it happened or that it did happen. This is a fairly common mistake, I would assume, in your business. So maybe rather than becoming a worm, if she does bring her claws out, is talking about the reality of the situation. This is what happened. You know, I don't know if you jumped the line or something when you were calculating. Explain to her how you have rectified the circumstance.
And what I did was it was the next kid in the grade.
And the book, exactly. And those little lines are little.
2-3 kind of kid instead of a 4. Because if I would have even been paying attention, you know, but I was just, there was a million things going on and I was just kind of dredging in numbers.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe part of what you could do with her is tell her what you have done already and ask her if she has further suggestions for you, how you might further deal with the circumstance?
How It would be a real change.
It would be a real change.
It would be a real change.
Do you know, do you think that I don't know your boss, but do you think that she is a person that has some resource of knowledge and information?
Well, I just see her as just this horrible person, but I know that some of my colleagues, when we go out to dinner or something like that, some of them think she's okay.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure wonderful, but okay.
Okay. Well, I know one thing that you've said all along is that you do not want to be reactive anymore, and that you do not want to feel small when you interact with her. You have this realization already. If you want it to be different, you will have to act differently in those circumstances.
Can I bring her in here and have me teach her?
I imagine if she was willing to come, but I don't know. That would be, in that circumstance, me helping her, helping you all act differently. In this instance, it is you have to think about how important this is to you, that you turn the things that you have gained insight into action.
It is important. I want to stay working in the Valley. I don't want to leave with a bad thing,
Okay.
recommendations and stuff.
Well, you have your appointment set up with your
I do.
with your boss. I encourage you to think about how you could react differently than you have in the past. And we'll meet shortly after that and see how did it go.
I guess I still have my health insurance even if they can't.
You can keep paying
for a while.
And I'm here as a resource if you need it. But you know what? You have had so many successful relationships in the past with so many different people. You're a good teacher. You have a record of being a good teacher. To allow some of these things to continue to kind of haunt that good professional record that you have is really kind of, it doesn't seem like something that you really want to keep doing.
Yeah, that's true. And I can't get her fired or moving on to another school. So.
No. So let's try this and let's meet shortly after that you have your meeting with the teacher.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thanks,
Okay.
Heather.